Hoki mai noa, welcome back. And I'm joined now by our panel digital editor Finn Hogan, former parliamentary staffer for National and NZ First, Georgina Stiliano, and agribusiness broadcaster and host of Sarah's Country, Sarah Perriam. Tēnā koutou. Thanks for your time. Let's do deepfakes. Finn, just saw your story. How damaging could they be in election year?
Well, I mean, that's the problem. We don't really know the extent of the danger because we're not paying people to do that research. There's about 5 people in the country that are thinking about this professionally. You just saw them all in that story. I mean, that's barely an exaggeration, but it is a serious problem. Like, I think deepfake video is one thing. It's going to exacerbate existing issues with distrust in media. But I think the important point here is synthetic media is a much broader umbrella than that. We're dealing with technology that can now create convincing versions of text, of audio, of video, of pictures. So we're entering a world now where you're going to log onto a website, it's going to scan your publicly available information, and it's going to make you an entire website of content created just for you. We've dealt with curated content before on social media and those dangers. What happens when it's created?
Right. So when you look at that, Georgina, does it make you uncomfortable, or do you feel that we're just being a bit overreactive to it?
Well, we've solved this problem in the green room just before and basically decided to turn the internet off.
Great.
Is the solution. But on a serious note, it is deeply troubling. I mean, I think we talk about maybe not overestimating the problem, but what I find, if you look at Trump with his fake news and dismissal of every article that's said something he didn't like, if there are recordings or footage that politicians can suddenly dismiss as fake, that also poses a problem. I have no idea.
So is that going to be a problem coming up, Sarah? You know, a politician doesn't like it, they're going to call it fake. It's a deepfake. It's an easy out.
Absolutely. It's about saying, I didn't do that, and when they could have been doing that the whole time beforehand. I mean, to be honest, it gave me goosebumps more than the Hawaki Ikinoa, where that's going to land with the emissions pricing.
Well, we're going to find out in a moment.
What a segue.
Okay, well, that's a great segue. Where are we going to land with that, Sarah Perry? I mean, it's an historic consensus, but sheep and beef farmers are really unhappy. Is that partnership over?
Well, I mean, it is, because their point in case was to come up with a recommendation, a well thought out, that had government, iwi and farmers, we forget, all at the table to come up with a sensible solution. At the end of the day, when it comes right up to the 12th hour, the government is now starting to play politics going into 23, and yet again, as they did in 2017, farmers are the easy to utilise in this, and so to innate that much pain to change some fundamental things at the end, it to me sounds more like politics than it is about practicality.
I mean, there is this debate about whether reducing sheep emissions here could lead to emissions going up overseas. From sort of standing back as an observer, does it feel like that part is worth it?
The emissions leakage problem is something that I don't think agencies across the board, not just in ag, but in industrialisation generally in this country, do we want onshore manufacturing or do we not? Are we willing to get it offshore at a higher carbon cost? But coming back to agriculture, I think we just need to remember that this has been on the table for decades. I frankly am bored of the topic.
Right.
I think somebody had to do something at some point, and my view on this is, if you have a proportion of the farmers and Greenpeace saying that the proposal sucks, I think it's probably landed about right.
Okay. Finn, I just wanted to ask you, I mean, the Minister was saying, we're going to depend on technology to ensure that and mitigate emissions. But is that technology there? That's the question.
I mean, that's the thing. We've talked about this on the show before, and you brought up genetic technology in that interview there. And that is not something that you can depend on, particularly in New Zealand, for various reasons. One, we've got such a strict regulatory environment about developing technologies, particularly around gene editing. So they would have to move on that if they're going to rely on these technologies. They're showing no inclination to do that. And B, even if they do, those technologies take years to decades to bring to market. And so I don't know if they're ever going to come to market in a time frame that's useful based on the track record.
Sarah might be able to bring us in on that. I mean, what do the farmers say? Do they believe that the technology is going to be there by 2030 to reach these emissions targets?
Well, I think it was really interesting, the crossover with deepfake around the pace of law and the pace of technology and which one comes first, because fundamentally we are regulating something that does not have the technology in place. Yet at the same time, we're not talking about the technology of sequestration, LiDAR, that we have now to be able to answer everything that Damien believes is impossible, is possible, and can actually position us to be able to sell our product at that premium he so speaks of.
Just politically, quickly, Georgina, Labor won a lot of rural seats, probably off the back of COVID in 2020. Will this issue lose seats for them next year?
Yes, and I think it's political capital they have decided that they are willing to lose at this point. I think there's a transformational program, and whether you love or hate it, and I certainly disagree with some of the reforms, but at least they're trying to do something. Okay. Too many plates spinning.
Yeah, a lot of plates spinning. Yeah.
And a bit of a comms problem in terms of bringing people along with you. But I'm kind of bored of the status quo.
You've mentioned that before. Just really quickly, so Labor doesn't want the farmer vote.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, 13% of the workforce works within the rural industry. It's more so about the fact that it's a faction of society that they can use to mobilise a wider unhappiness with the government that will be what ACT is currently doing right now.
Right.
And the Nats, let's be fair.
I don't know.
I think the National Party are going to be playing well into this. They already are. I mean, the fact that we're already seeing headlines around it's 1 in 5 sheep and beef farm that's going out of business, well, that's fake news.
Yeah.
But that's a messaging problem on the government's part, right?
Yeah,
they should have got their message over there.
It gets reiterated.
I'm going to move on because we're going around in circles on this one. But, you know, this industry is essential to our exports. So we're going to talk trade now, his other hat. Fen, I mean, they're always talking about diversifying trade, but China still dominates our exports. How much of a problem?
I mean, it's been a massive problem. We know it's a massive problem. They keep saying they're going to do something about it. We're not seeing much action on that. And of course, as we bring up the Taiwan question as well, if any issues come there, that's going to be incredibly influential on our economy, but less of an issue if we pull back from China. But also on Taiwan.
But how easy is that? I mean, I just wanted to ask Sarah, how easy is it to do that? I mean, once you've set up your sort of trade-export profile, how can you just go, oh, no, I'm just going to go over here?
Well, you can't, because, I mean, the 13 EU members actively hate us because of the conversation we're having around greenifying our agricultural imports against what their strategy is, which is to be tenfold what we're trying to achieve. We don't have the ability to pivot because the markets we want to pivot into are effectively subsidising their farmers to be well in advance in terms of their stance on environmental production.
And you also talked about India. So India is obviously a massive market, but Georgie, we can't go there because they do what we do.
Yeah, I like what you just said. I think that is right. We do have governments in our trading partners that are being far more interventionist than we are. The same applies with recycling and packaging and waste management. But when it comes to trade, our reliance is not new. We've seen this coming for many, many, many years. And I find the argument that government shouldn't intervene in a free market, but also can you give us FTAs so that we can diversify our businesses a little? Government can do some of the heavy lifting. Business needs to do some of it too.
So Damien O'Connor says it's his job to open the doors, but it's opening doors, Finn, where there is an issue of balancing human rights and trade deals. I mean, that's a pretty tricky
but that's the tightrope that anyone in his position was going to have to walk, right? And I appreciate his sort of bluntness on that, because I don't think anyone else in that seat would really be doing anything differently. Maybe their messaging would be different, but at the end of the day, his job is to look after our economy, and you're always going to be dealing with nations that have different values than us.
All right, let's talk one last thing. We've got some pictures from this week. It's Christopher Luxon. There he is, doing his Macca's shift. I don't know. Did it come across as authentic, Sarah?
Oh, no. To me, it didn't. And it was really a case in point that National haven't got their act together in terms of what they actually stand for, what their solutions will be. That, to me, it looks like a man that's excited more about his childhood dream of being the Prime Minister than it does about actually fundamentally what he believes in.
Yeah, I mean, look, sorry, bro, you're going to have to flip so many burgers to convince people that you don't winter in Hawaii, you know? That's not going to work for you.
Yes, I mean, Georgina, you've worked in Parliament and we've seen these kinds of things again and again and again. What is the point of dragging a politician into that kind of sort of workplace photo opportunity?
Well, politicians visit businesses every day of the week. So I think that's just what we do, and Labor ministers and MPs have been to Macca's stores. But I think he's trying to be more relatable. That's sort of the Luxon problem politically. I mean, whether the Maryvale McDonald's is the best way of achieving that, but I think it was teed up for a long time. I am aware of that.
Right,
this is something that Luxon has wanted to do for a long time. So I think the timing with the fair pay agreements that aggravated the government. was a little bit of a coincidence. Maybe one they capitalised on, but...
Does the CEO of Air New Zealand, who drove a sustainability agenda, actually wanting to talk about sustainability in the National Party, dilute the conversation around that they potentially could work with the Greens?
Right, it's time. Thank you for that question. Thank you so much to our panel, Finn Hogan, Georgina Stiliano and Sarah Perriam. Thank you so much for your time and your takes. Ka mātua I tēnā. That is all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Next Saturday only, we'll be starting at the later time of 11:30 a.m. Make sure you reset your calendars. Ngā mihi nui. And we, of course, will see you all again then. Thank you so much.